Hey guys, today on Sports Spectrum, we're doing something a little different. Our guest today is Kayla Burton. Now, Kayla is an ESPN reporter. She joined ESPN back in August of 2023 as a sideline reporter. She has several years under her belt as a host and reporter for both collegiate and professional sports. She worked with NFL media. You saw her on the NFL Network and NFL.com for a couple years in 2021, 2022. She also served for a bunch of different roles in Western Massachusetts and Springfield, Mass. as an anchor, reporter, content producer. She's a graduate of Lehigh University. She has a family of athletics. Her sister plays in the WNBA. Her dad is a broadcaster in the Boston, Massachusetts area. So Kayla Burton, great story, great person, loves the Lord. This is going to be an awesome conversation with Kayla. But I'm not doing the interview today. Today, we're going to welcome in, for the first time, Annabelle Hasselbeck. Now, you might recognize that last name. Annabelle is the daughter of Matthew Hasselbeck, the quarterback, who's been on this show many times. Annabelle wants to be in this business of broadcasting, and she's a college senior over at Boston College, where she's doing pretty well as a lacrosse player. They reached the national championship game last year. And she's also, if you go to her Instagram page, Annabelle has a ton of interviews and different things that she's doing at Boston College. And as we got talking, her faith is important to her. I said, why don't you do an interview or two and we'll run it here on Sports Spectrum. So Annabelle Hasselbeck is the host. Kayla Burton is the guest, and they have a unique friendship as well. That's coming up in just a moment here on Sports Spectrum. First, I want to tell you about our Sports Spectrum magazine. Our spring 2024 issue is out now. You can subscribe over at sportspectrum.com. Faith-filled, family-friendly, clean content. It's got devotionals in there, great design, pictures. It's perfect for kids, perfect for families. I highly recommend the Sports Spectrum magazine. You can go to sportspectrum.com right now and subscribe. When you check out and you order a one-year subscription, use the code podcast15 to save 15% off that first year, that one-year subscription to Sports Spectrum's magazine. Again, the code is podcast15, podcast15, and subscribe today over at sportspectrum.com.
Today, we have ESPN's Kayla Burton. Kayla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, AB. I love this. I love you, your family. It's an honor to be here, for real.
So awesome. Well, Kayla, most people probably know you from seeing you on TV, ESPN, college football this fall. But tell me about Kayla Burton, the athlete.
Oh, washed up. 2 words.
No.
Kayla Burton, the athlete, is washed up. And it's kind of sad that those 2 words came so quickly. Me and my experience with basketball, I ran track in high school, played basketball, and basketball was definitely my thing and just what I wanted to do. I loved the team dynamic of it. And I just loved the game. I loved playing, being on the court, being with the group, the teammates that I was with in high school, and then playing at Lehigh University. It was just such a blessing and such an honor to rep Lehigh, the Mountain Hawks. And I created some of my best relationships there. It was definitely not easy. I think when you go to play at the collegiate level, and AB, you're a stud, a star athlete yourself, at a ridiculously prestigious school at BC, but it's not always going to be the highs of the highs. You're playing with and against stars, and so you have to fight for your playing time. You have to, just work. You have to grind, and you question your identity too a lot. If I'm not getting these minutes, or who am I without the minutes? Who am I with the minutes? So there was so much just confusion, but excitement. There was just a lot of emotion as an athlete, but it's definitely been a huge staple part in my life and to where I am today. It's taught me how to have a different type of unique work ethic, mentality, being around guys growing up my whole life. I was playing basketball with boys my whole life. So even just where I'm at with, TV stuff today and predominantly, male industry, basketball and just being an athlete has definitely helped. And I'm so grateful for it. And I just love covering sports because of it. You know, being an athlete myself and getting interviewed, although I didn't get interviewed all the time, but kind of being able to tap into the athlete's mentality now on this side of the court, or, you know, this side of the sideline or field or whatever it is, I'm able to understand kind of what they're going through and what they're thinking. So it's a different perspective now.
Totally. That's like so important. And the identity in your sport and then the minutes is something that I've so gone through in college. And I'm so it's been so hard, but I'm very thankful. Now I'm a senior. I'm getting down to my last couple months of college in general. And I can already see glimpses of where college athletics is going to help me like later in life,
Oh
and
yeah.
not having your identity solely be in your sport or in how many minutes you're getting or the success that you have on the field. I've won huge games in my career. I've lost national championship by 12 last year. Like we've seen it all. So that's so good. That is so good. But can you talk about, just because of what you said, you come from the definition of a sports family. Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
Yeah, I'm blessed. I'm thankful to be. I love my family. You know, I love my parents, my siblings. Like we really are close. We're nothing special. We're not. You know, I know we're identified maybe in the Boston area as the sports family, but we're just like any other family. You know, but my parents always embodied the mentality of work ethic. So my mom was a swimmer at Northwestern. My dad played football there. And when I have three other siblings, so when we were all growing up, since I was maybe 6 years old, we would get up before school at like 5 a.m. I had no choice, obviously. None of us did. But we'd get up early in the mornings and go to the church, the local church in Hopkinton. And the janitor would open up the gym for us, and we would shoot hoops, and we would kick soccer balls, and we would just practice something. And then as we got older, obviously, those alarm clocks were still going off at 5, whatever, in the morning. And then fights broke out between the siblings and my parents being like, we don't agree with this. And I remember my older sister, Kendall, got mad at my dad, and she was like, this is absurd. You know, no other kid is doing this. I don't know. She was just complaining about it all. And rightfully so, you know, it's early. And my dad, I'll never forget him saying this. He goes, Kendall, I don't care if you want to play the trumpet. I don't care if you want to play any other sport. I don't care if you want to write. Pick something, though, because you're going to wake up and do it. And so then we were like, okay, so we really don't have a choice. And so obviously at the time that was difficult and annoying. It was tiresome, but I'm so grateful. And that, you know, played out all throughout high school. But even beyond that in my life, like I just learned work ethic. And I'm really grateful for my parents. My mom was rebounding. She, in her Twitter bio, it's like, you know, whatever, Northwestern alum, blah, 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 like wife, mother, and rebounder. And I just love that because it's like this woman who was a swimmer, had nothing to do with basketball, is giving me passes. We'd have to make like 200 shots in the morning before school. And she's just all over the court. And, you know, 200 makes. I don't even want to count for how many misses we had. So but it was such a family bonding experience. You know, that's how our family is really close to each other. We're weird. But I'm just grateful that that was our experience because it's played such a big role, especially when I got to college. You know, I just had a great season, a great rookie season. I led the team in threes. I was made all rookie first team. Like everything was going great. And then my sophomore year, another point guard comes in and I'm like a bench warmer at this point. Sophomore, junior, and even senior year, I went from averaging like 32 minutes a game to maybe 3 to 10, if 10. And that really was that was a hard chapter. And I remember like still, I would wake myself up in the mornings. I was like, maybe I'm not getting up enough. Like do what got you here. And I still wasn't getting the minutes. And I was so frustrated because I'm like, what happened? And who am I? And my world felt like it was crashing down because now I was Kayla Burton without the minutes. And even forget how that looked on an external level and in an internal way, I was struggling with that. And that's where my faith, you know, in God really kicked in. Because you have, and to each their own, you know, but for me, that was definitely how I identify myself, is just finding who I am without the sport right in front of me. But anyway, just being able to use that work ethic that my parents have taught me, and my other siblings, has definitely played a role in my life personally. And I also get to see it in my, my brother and sister's lives. Like, it's really evident of wherever work we're in. Like, my older sister is in medical sales. My younger sister plays professional basketball. My brother is in medical sales. And you get to see them just grind at their craft and work at what they do. And that really stemmed from those 5 a.m. workouts.
Yeah, that is amazing. Wow. Your mom is awesome for doing that and all those rebounds. I want to get a
She's
stat
a rock
number on
star.
that.
She doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, that's awesome. But it's so crazy because I kind of had a similar experience with the first 2 years of my college experience. Freshman year, I got so many more minutes than I did sophomore year. And that was really the year of my life that I would say I turned to God the most. And I was like, okay, I don't have a choice. Like, I need to read my Bible today. I need to go to this athletes in action meeting. I need
Oh
to call
yeah.
my grandma.
No,
Just
it's
every
huge.
day.
And without that, and it's never going to be a smooth ride, right? I look at my life and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've made so many mistakes. I have, went different ways, stayed on, like, it's just such a roller coaster ride. And I think I know what we post on social media is all the ups. You can go through all my Instagram, whatever, and you're going to see all happiness, happiness, happiness. And to be real, like, I don't post, like, no one really posts their negative situations or the tough times. And some people do, which I think is awesome, to be more transparent about that. But I will be transparent that, it wasn't all butterflies and roses at all in college, beyond college. Like, I still was trying to figure out, who am I? What do I want to do? After college, I went straight home. Actually, fun fact, I was coaching you at Rivers.
Yes.
Right after, for those who don't know, I was coaching basketball and AB was a stud on the team. And
No,
AB,
that's
crazy.
stud is a stretch. I was on the team.
You're
I
a
was on
lacrosse
the
stud, but you're
team.
a basketball hooper too.
Oh man, that's nice, you, Kayla.
But
But
at that moment, I was coaching. It's funny having this conversation with you now and seeing how incredible you are and how much growth you've just made since Rivers to Boston College and where you're at right now in life. And it's cool to look back, even when I was coaching after graduating and living at home. Everyone else had their jobs. They were living in New York, DC, getting paid great. And I'm like, living at home, not knowing what I'm doing. I wanted to do broadcasting, but I wasn't in grad school yet. I wasn't sure. And then I went to go get my master's at Syracuse by the grace of God. And, it's just everyone's journey pans out differently. And what I've learned about that is just being okay with where you're at and having goals, obviously, but not comparing yourself to others. And it's obviously so much better said than done.
Totally. And I want to just ask you a little bit more about that season of your life, because that is so true. Some people are going to be living at home and might not have their career figured out, and other people are going to be killing it in New York City and look like they're balling out. What did you cling to during that season of your life? Was there a specific song or a specific verse or person that like really got you through that waiting period?
That's a great question. Yeah, well, I've already said this already, and I don't think people think it's a cliche, but sometimes when I say it, it sounds cliche, and it's really not. And it is the Lord. Like, I mean that, because when you are going through life and when you see, whether you make a mistake or you're succeeding or you're seeing others around you that, are taking off sooner than you would than you would want to take off, or you want to be where they are. And, like, it's so easy to compare and so easy to not be content with where we're at. And I've been through those chapters, and I've been disappointed. Like, every job that I applied to, I definitely got plenty of rejections as well. And so I'm like, well, now what? What am I going to do? Who am I? Where am I going? And the only constant in my life has been God. And what I mean by that is, I feel like I will go to my Bible and I'll go to Jesus and read my Bible when it's the lows and when I'm like looking for help and hope and advice and whatever. But I think something that I've been challenging myself with is when it's going smooth, when, things are great, don't forget who carried me along the way. And so that's something that I'm still working through and still trying to attain like every single day. Like, I'm like, you know what? Have I checked in? Have I just like thanked God for today, for where I am? Because even though I want to be here, like I still have dreams and goals of, where I want to be in months and a year from now and 5 years from now. But I saw this quote that was like, don't forget you prayed for where you're at right now. Don't forget the day where you prayed for where you're at right now. And I was like, that really hit me because I realized I'm always wanting something more. And I think our society feeds into that. Like, oh, you're here, but you can have this, what about this? And it's like, what about now? What about this time? And it's never always going to be perfect. Everyone's going to want something else. But I have to remind myself, like, wow, 3 years ago, I was praying to be at a spot like ESPN, and I'm so grateful that they took a chance with me, and I'm here, and I have a long way to go. I have a lot of work to do, but be grateful that you are here. And so I think that's kind of like my mentality when I think about my journey and everything like that.
That is so good. That is so good, Kayla. And I just going back to what you said about social media, I remember seeing an Instagram post from you. You posted it on January 2nd, and your caption was, "This exact day last year at that very same place, I was in the stands. This time was a little different." And then you quoted Jeremiah 29:11. And I believe it was at the Citrus Bowl. And the white photo was you in this like beautiful dress hosting the award ceremony. Like, that was so cool for me to see. Like, I can't even imagine when that moment hit you, when you realized, oh my gosh, this is the same day, kind of same place. Now look at like where God has brought me. Can you describe a little bit about what that moment was like for you?
Ooh, I get emotional when I think about that moment because when I was in the stands, I was at a really tough point in my life. Like, just emotionally, I felt I wasn't really covering sports at that time. And I just needed to be around family, and I wanted to be around family. So I flew out to my brother's Citrus Bowl game. And my mom and my dad were like, I think you should just be with the fam. I'm like, yeah. And so I flew out, and I just was in the stands with them watching my brother play. And I remember like God just needed me to be with family in that moment. Going through just personal struggles that I had to get over, and just life. Life was lifing, as they say. And so being in the stands, I remember questioning, like, what am I going to really pursue broadcasting? Am I going to take off in it? Like, what am I doing, and what am I going to do? And I just remember really questioning my life in that moment. And if you were to have told me that fast forward a year, on that very same day, I would be hosting that Citrus Bowl, I would look at God and be like, okay, be for real. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, sure. And that's what really hit me. I think there's so much adrenaline when I was covering that Citrus Bowl. I mean, even just being the aspiring reporter that you are, and journalist that you are, you're always on the go. You're always thinking ahead. The adrenaline is kicking in. It's boom, 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 super fast paced that you don't really get a moment to just stop and pause. And I remember walking into that stadium before I started, doing my thing and was covering that game and hosting the trophy ceremony. I FaceTimed my mom right before that game, and I just FaceTimed her where we were last year, because we actually went into a corner and just kind of prayed, which was kind of crazy last year. So I went to that same area and FaceTimed her. I go, do you remember this? And we just both I was tearing up, and I had the chills, because I'm like, to think where you can go, you can be in a hole, a valley, kind of whatever anyone is dealing with. And it's not just broadcasting, it's anything in life. But like I've learned that a season is temporary. So no matter what you're going through, like, you're going to get to the other side if you believe that, and if you put in the effort, and have that faith. And to see myself host that trophy ceremony and just be there, I was just, humility struck me. Like, I just felt so humbled by it all, because I'm like, it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with him and where he put me and the faith I had in him. And so, like, I just think it was a wowing moment. It's definitely like an emotional moment for me. But I'm just so grateful for ESPN to, say, hey, we want you to be a part of hosting this Citrus Bowl with a great team. So it was so fun. It was awesome. Really, really neat.
that I'm so glad I got to hear that your side of it with not just outside of the Instagram post. That is so cool, Kayla. Well, I got the opportunity. You talked a little bit about your mom. I got the opportunity to spend some time with your dad a few weeks ago at his job, and he gave
Oh
me.
Lord.
He was at CVS. No, he was so helpful, and he gave me two
I'm
pieces
so
of
sorry.
advice. No, he was awesome. He gave me two pieces of advice. It was at CBS in Boston, and he said you need to practice and you need to pray. And I was so thankful that he said that about praying because everybody's probably like, all right, like, yeah, you got to
Yeah.
practice. Like, you got to, like, right? You got to get the reps in. But when somebody's that real with you and is willing to just call you out and be like, are you praying big prayers? Like, are you believing this? Are you trusting God? That meant so much to me. So I just wanted to say thank you to you on
Oh no.
on his behalf, or on, however I just botched that.
No,
But
not. He
going
actually
about
told me that he ran into you too, and he was, and you know, I know we're talking all about my family, but AB, your family is unbelievable. You know, with what you've been able to do up BC, your brother, your dad. I mean, it just stems in the whole Hasselbeck family. So you're way overhyping the Burton fam when I could go
no,
do a
no,
whole
not at all.
podcast of the Hasselbeck family.
No, well, we're similar in ways. The advice that your dad gave me is he said you need to do reps. He said Kayla and I would be in our kitchen and we would do these like we would pretend like we were recapping a game. And so I'd send it to Kayla and then Kayla would give her hit and then Kayla would send it back to me and I would give my hit.
You know what's a funny story about that? When I was at Syracuse, I was doing, you know, I was hosting or basically being the color analyst with guys like Noah Eagle and Drew Carter, who are just incredible at what they do. And also being next to them as kind of a rookie is tough. It's tough to get behind because you're just here's where they are and here's where I was.
Yeah.
So I just remember breaking down. It was during grad school is really tough because everyone's trying to shine. No one wants to make mistakes, but it's actually the place where you're supposed to make mistakes. But it's kind of perfectionist at its highest. And I
Hmm.
remember I just butchered one of the segments that we did. I mean, I wasn't even speaking English. I don't even know what I was saying. And I called my dad after, bawling my eyes out, crying. I'm like, I can't do it. I hate this. This hates me. It's just, I don't get it. I don't have confidence. I'm over. I was so upset. And he goes, well, have you been practicing? And I was like, Dad, I don't need the whole, you know, dad talk, whatever. I just need a vent
Yeah.
and maybe you just say two words. And he's like, well, have you been practicing? And I was like, how do you practice this? What do you mean? He goes, well,
Yeah.
how did you get to play hoops in college? I was like, well, I was getting up early. He goes, are you getting up early? I'm like, I'm doing what? And he goes, pick a story, create 4 to 5 bullet points about that story, and say it out loud 10 different times. And so I'm like, okay. And he goes, get in the mirror and do it. So he goes, you know what? I'm still doing broadcasting. I got a long way to go, even though he's done it for a while. But he's like, let's call each other in the morning and we're going to do this. For that whole year, or that half, from that point to the rest of the year, we'd wake up, he'd call me and we'd do reps together. And it would be like, all right, we're sending it out to Kayla. And this is across the phone. And I'm in my room. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Steve. You know, Syracuse men's basketball team today is hosting Virginia. Like, we're just going back and forth. And he goes, one. And now he does it. And then I do it. So it was so funny. And now I love him. I can only handle so many phone calls with him. So I'll do it by myself now out loud because that's where I get my confidence is practicing out loud. So I think whatever works for you, some people don't need to do that. Some people, like for me, when I was shooting basketball, it was just seeing the shot going into the basket. That would give you confidence or me confidence. So now I try to just translate that into the broadcasting world. And it's been a huge help.
That is awesome. That's so funny. And he did say she did get kind of better at it than me towards the end there. So props to you. But
I
it
don't know
is
about
so
that,
crazy
but
because similarly, like over the summer, when I was trying to figure out, all right, what do I want to do? I'm about to graduate college. My dad was doing the same exact exercise with my whole family in our kitchen. Like, all right, like Red Sox just played. Everybody give your 2 cents, your hit about what it was. And I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't figure out how to give the recap. And I was like, this is too hard. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, you're crazy. And fast forward, like, however many months, 5 months, I'm interviewing different athletes at BC and I'm running downstairs to my roommates before I go to interview, my own friends in their gym. I'm like, hey, like, let me just ask you, does this question sound right? Like, how should I ask this? And
I
it's
love
just
it.
like crazy. Like at one point I'm not doing that. You're whack. I'm not talking to myself. Like, are you serious? Like, that's
Yeah,
weird.
it's weird.
Now
It's
I have
uncomfortable.
to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's worth
It's
it. And when you see, I think when you
Mhm.
just own the fact that it's just weird and you may stumble, you're going to stumble. I hate doing reps. I try to do it in the mornings and I skip some days and I hate doing them because I just am like, I don't even want to hear myself talk because it's so frustrating because you already set the bar of perfectionism. And it's like, no, just do it. Just do it. And little by little, you'll start to see yourself progress, especially when you're thrown into the situation where you have to go live right now. I think that's something that I learned at ESPN just recently in college football. Right after kickoff, like, all right, let's check in with Kayla. And I remember the very first time I was so taken aback by how quickly it was tossed to me. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I waited. And then I'm like, Kayla, I said it internally. I was like, talk, speak, give the report, something, anything.
Yeah.
And, but all those reps that you do helps with that, because even if you mess up or if you lose your way, it's like, calm down, take a breath, and get back on. And so I think doing those practice reps, like I promise you that it only helps. It still it stinks to go through, trust me, but worth it.
Yeah. So Kayla, speaking for a friend, if you are a college athlete and you compete every single day and you're in the gym or you're on the field or you're on the ice at practice all the time and you're about to end your career and it's over and then you're going to go to a job or you're going to hit the real world, what advice would you give someone who's about to go into that huge transition of life?
My advice would be patient with yourself. And be patient with yourself. Be patient with the timing of how things play out. And just trust that all that you've done on the ice, on the court, on the field, in the classroom, in the pool, wherever your platform was, that's preparing you for that next chapter. But I think people get so anxious. I know I got anxious, especially as an athlete where the expectation we put on ourselves is to constantly be at our highest, or peak at the highest level and all the time. And when you kind of get back to the real world, or for the first time in the real world without the sport and without your normal routine, it's really hard because I remember when basketball ended for me, it was a breakup. I mean, I've been in relationships and that was the hardest relationship breakup I've ever been in, is the basketball one, because
Wow.
that one, because it's your go-to, right? Like whenever it's your escape, whenever school was hard, if you had family issues, friend issues, or if things were great, or you would go to the sport. At least for a lot of people, it's your escape and it's what you know. And so I think when that's done, you feel like you're missing a huge part of your life and you feel like, what do I do? And I think there are some people who know exactly what they're doing right after and get into it. There are others like myself who didn't really know. I had an idea, but I still didn't know. And I think the expectation, especially in your generation and even my generation, is to be successful right out the gate, make X amount of money, and flourish like ASAP. And I just think that's a little bit unfair for yourself. Like it's just unfair. And I'm not saying, go take the time you need, like breathe for a sec and allow yourself to breathe. But also then try to figure out like, okay, like what do I enjoy? Like I think that what allowed me to figure out what I wanted to do and to kind of clarify that was I looked back at different points in my life. I forget where I read this, but it was like, think about some of your favorite moments in your life. And one of them, you're going to laugh, was me doing karaoke with my sister on a cruise ship. And I kid you not, I just took off with it. I was like singing Respect, Arias. Like I just really, had my moment. It was like my time to shine. And I had so much fun with that. And I realized between that and like basketball performing, I like to perform. I like the cameras on me. I like to take a microphone, and I'm not saying I'm a singer because God knows that's not the case. But I was like, I actually really like learning something and doing it in front of an audience. Like, I'm okay with it. I like it. I enjoy it. And so I would encourage you or anyone to look back at kind of like their most enjoyable moments in life and why you liked it, why you enjoyed it. And to see if that can correlate to the next thing that you do, whether it's in your personality, you like numbers, you know, if you want to work in, or you're good with people and you're a good salesman. Like, there's so many different things that our personalities can kind of help navigate when it comes to our careers. But I think the most important advice is just give yourself patience and trust me. The most of us are going to work for a good portion of our lives post college. So I think the rush into it, like, you know, keep perspective of it's okay not to know ASAP or right out the gate. You will work, you will know what you want to do. And it may, even the first job, it may not be what you want. And that's good that you experience that, because then you realize, like, okay, I actually don't like this. I have friends, I'm 28 years old. I have friends till this day who want to go back to school or want to explore a different career. And like, it's good that they see it. So we're all in just different journeys and pathways, but I think giving yourself patience allows you not to put that pressure on yourself to know.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. That's even something that my parents have said to me, you know, looking into what I'm going to do in the future. And me kind of being like, oh, I gotta start my job at this point, or, you know, lacrosse might end June 1st. Like, I gotta start going the beginning of July. And like, you have never taken a break for, you know, all of high school, you played 3 sports, all of college, you played Division I lacrosse. And it is really true. Like, you do need to give yourself a like rest and just peace, and because it's gonna be a long life of working, like it is. And so allowing yourself that's really great advice.
And I will also say, AB, it's very normal to cry and to feel scared, anxious, nervous about it. So like, even when you're feeling that, especially before bedtime, when you overthink, like for me, that's something that I do. It's okay to be in that moment or experience those emotions and not have a mental breakdown, or not like go, you know, above and beyond and lose yourself. Like, accept those emotions. It's fine. I'm not here to give a therapy session, but I'm saying, like, you know, it's very normal and common to just be where you are and to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm freaking out, but like, okay, this is what a lot of people go through, especially when you're an athlete too, because you're a part of something all the time. So then it gets a little lonely, but you'll get back on your feet. You'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah, you're good. I gotta get a Kayla Burton podcast that I can
Oh my
listen
God,
to every
absolutely
morning.
not.
This is so good.
Because I've had all the breakdowns. So.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, you talked a little bit about performing and liking to be in front of the camera. Can you speak to how you make your craft, and when you're on live TV, how are you being unique? How are you using like your Kayla swag? Because you have swag, Kayla. Like, your Twitter handle is K Breezy. Your dad even said it to me when
I'm
I
gonna
saw
call
him the
you.
other day. He said I had to. No, he said I had to get Kayla to be Kayla. He's like, I need Kayla. You got to be Kayla. You're not trying to copy,
Oh,
you know, other people. You got to be Kayla. And I was like, yeah, like I know the Kayla that you're talking about. And we both kind of nodded our heads and we're like, oh yeah, like I know Kayla's style. So how do you use your uniqueness and your personality? How do you use that style into your job?
yeah, my dad. Oh, it's so funny you said that, because my dad would always tell me to Kayla it up.
Yes,
Whenever
that's what he
I'm
said. He
doing,
said, I told her, he
right?
did say that to me. And I was trying to think of what it was.
Till this day, when I am about to go live and nervous or just in my head or whatever it is, he just says, just Kayla it up. And I think what he means by that, it's not, I don't have any special thing about me. It's not that. It's more, it's a reminder to just be yourself. And that's like the best advice I'm getting and can pass down, because I think what's important is when you get hired by whoever, they hired you for you. Like, if they didn't hire you or if they didn't want you, they wouldn't take you. You know, there's something about, I really believe there's something about you and your personality, UAB. I mean, I'm watching you do all of your, you know, the sit downs with Bill O'Brien recently, and even how you just start things. This is, you know, BC, I'm AB, this is head coach OB. Like, it's so you and so cool, and I think that it's attractive to for others to see, like, wow, this is so interesting. Like, how fun, it's not, you're not me, you're not anyone else, you're yourself. And so I try to find things that make me and add that to my performance, add it to, it's not, I don't even know if the word is performance is it, but just add it to what I do, because also it makes you the most comfortable. That way you don't, when you become like robotic and feel like you're trying to be someone else, or button up a little too much, or just try, it becomes harder. You forget things. You're not telling the report as strongly as you would like to. So I'm learning, and it's still a learning curve for me, but I'm learning that each report, I try to make it myself, be myself, and allow that to flow naturally. So it's something I still work at every single day. Like, it's not, I don't think it's like a destination at all for me right now, but just seek out your gifts and go with it. I think that's really helpful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that about what you said. And I'm going to try to Kayla it up now.
AB it up.
I'm going to AB it up. That's so good. I literally, those are little things though that like they might sound funny, but that is like the job. Like, you are on camera. Like, you are putting yourself so out there, and you just got to go for it. And so I love that. I'm going to AB it up now. That's going to be my thing. But no, I've done such a small scale of what you're doing right now in your career. And even when I've gone to do a 2-minute interview with my own friends who are other athletes here at BC, I have gotten nervous before. And like kind of what you said, before you get nervous, before you go live. And so something that I've done is like, okay, like what do I do before a game? I listen to like pump up music, or I listen to like some type of like upbeat jam, really, or like a fun video. And I've done that while I've been in my room, like doing my makeup, like pretending like I'm getting ready for a lacrosse game. So
it's literally the same.
Yes. So my question to you is, I asked the BC athletes here, I'm like, okay, before a game, are you wearing headphones or no headphones? And most people say, oh, I'm wearing headphones. I'm listening to, Beyonce, or I'm listening to some rap. What do you do when you're in your hotel room, you're about to go to a game for college football? What do you do to get yourself hyped up?
You kind of hit it right on the nail. I love the idea. So when I wake up, I do a devotion, because that's honestly like a game day. I read my favorite Bible verse. So this is game day for me. So I do my devotion. I go get coffee, like to just get outside, walk to go get coffee, have a little breakfast, whatever. And then the night before, I have a lot of notes, a lot of stories that I compiled throughout the week. So I have everything typed or bullet pointed. I don't memorize anything. It's too hard to memorize. Like the game is too fast. If you mess up or a word throws you off, I just have been given advice not to memorize, so I bullet point everything, because it also just is more natural that way when you talk on television. So anyway, I compile all of my notes, kind of go over in the morning each story, circle the 3 for each team that I may want to hit on, like my priorities. I have a sheet that says priority stories, and so the main ones that if I were to, rewatch this game today and see what was told to the audience from Kayla Burton, this is the most important story, or the most important stories that I want to be told. So I have my priority stories, and then the other ones that I can get in if I need to, if we have time or whatever. So I go through all my notes and practice the ones that I think I'm going to hit on. And then once I'm done with that, which is only like, it's probably like between the coffee and all that, 3 to 4 hours in the morning, it's getting ready time. I mean, I'll relax, watch college football because it's Saturday game. We had a lot of night games, so games are going on before us. So I just relax. I put my notes away and I'm just watching football. I'm like, don't be too much in your head about it. Like, just you trust that you're prepared. That's what I believe. And if I'm not, then I'll spend more time in my notes. And then I get ready. Hair and makeup. It's funny. It's kind of lame. I hate hair and makeup on a regular basis. But when it comes to game day and stuff, it's my excuse and escape to listen to music and just kind of not think about football for a sec, just to debrief and relax. And by the way, I am shaking my mascara when I am getting ready because I'm nervous. I
No
do
way.
all the
That's
time.
awesome.
Sometimes I miss,
Yeah.
you know, when like you're going, you
Yeah.
have to like, you know, get more mascara or whatever. And this
Yeah.
sounds so funny that I'm talking about makeup, but
No, yeah.
I get nervous.
It's part of it. It's so part of it.
But I've realized I've accepted the nerves. Nerves used to freak me out. Nerves used to scare me. And now I realize like, no, it's a very common thing. These athletes, these NFL players, these top WNBA players, like my granddad who used to play football for the Patriots, like my grandma would tell me all the time, he'd get nervous before every single game. And it's just channeling those nerves. And it's okay to be nervous. Like when I go live, I get nervous. And I realize I'm like, if I'm nervous, that's a good sign. I care. You know, some people don't get nervous. God bless them. I get nervous, and it's not a freak out nervous system. It's more like I care. I want to do a good job. I'm nervous. I'm almost coming on. And then it's like, it's kind of like, you know, for me, basketball tip off. Once the ball is tipped, game mode. And that's how I feel when they're like, all right, let's send it down to Kayla. Go. And if you mess up, all right. If you brick a shot or if you airball, what are you going to do? Like cry and leave the court? No, you're going to be like, all right, play defense. Let's go. Like you just use that whole athlete's mentality to carry you through game day. So yeah, I like to just listen to music, and then I get in the car with the crew. We have like a driver who takes us to the field, and we all are just kind of cracking up about different things. We're talking about some notes, and then we're just, you know, it was Brock Osweiler and Dave Fleming was a part of my crew, and I just loved hanging with them, driving the games and just talking about, you know, what they had to eat at breakfast this morning, like some random stuff. And that also calmed the nerves too, because you also realize what you get to do is cover football and should be a lot of fun. It's not like, it's not heart surgery, you know, it's like,
Right.
and if you are doing heart surgery, God bless you, because that's serious, you know,
Yeah.
but I just love I love game day, and I used to not love game day because I'd be too nervous, and now it's like, no, this is it. This is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. And like, too, you're nervous, but you're also with your team. You're with your crew. And they're also probably feeling similar things. And I think that's something that can totally get you through it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so good. Well, Kayla, you should be a basketball coach too someday. Obviously, maybe not back to Rivers because I'm gone. Actually, you won't have me. I'll play left bench. But
listen, you were a lacrosse stud and basketball stud. So the fact that you're doing both sports at that day and age is unbelievable. I do love coaching. I love to coach on the side, and I think, you know, hopefully when I have kids one day, I'll be able to train them the way my parents have trained me. That's kind of the goal too. But
5 a.m.
One thing at a time. Yeah, 5 a.m. wake up.
You're like, Kayla, are your kids up at 5 a.m.? Are you doing
like, hey, B, remember what I said on that podcast? Yeah, I'm really not following through.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. But when you were talking about that and how what your dad was saying to your sister about like, just pick something. My dad would say a similar thing if Mallory, Henry, or my siblings would complain about a sport or complain about practice or a long travel tournament. He'd say, okay, quit. Like, okay, like you can be done. Like, you don't have to go. Like, you don't have to go. And we'd be like, no. Like, I'm not quitting. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy. He'd say, okay, just stop sports. Just stop sports. Like, completely just stop sports. And we would look at him like
the worst. Because you're like, really? Like, obviously we know that's not going to be the case, but like, really? Like, I totally get it. But you know what? And you probably thank your dad for getting you into it because it's taking you through some of the best moments of your life.
100%. I've even found myself sometimes using that on younger people too. Unfortunately, I'm like, wait a second, I can't say that. I'm only like 22. I can't be using these one-liners.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So Kayla, a little bit more about college football. You did the LA Bowl with Gronk this year, and I was watching that live when you two were talking, and he kind of went like off script and started talking about how great of a broadcaster you are, and he's mentioned your dad. Can you like break down what that moment was like? Because I could kind of tell. I was like, oh man, like he's really like complimenting Kayla right now, and this is probably we don't know what Gronk's gonna say, you know?
That's what you just said is exactly what was going through my mind. I mean, when we were talking about, you know, him and all of what he has done to make this LA Bowl possible, because that's the first time he's hosted. It's been the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, and for him to come in and take over, and I got to see what he was able to do throughout the week, like with the teams, with the bands, and just he was so involved. And he is exactly who he is on camera, off camera. Like, he's awesome. He's so fun. He's so genuine, authentic. I don't know him, too personally, but after we all can get a taste of who he is, and he is that genuine off the field, off the camera too. And so I just really appreciated him and his time to even do an interview with us, because he's pulled in so many directions. Like, he had so many obligations that day. So anyway, we were talking about the MVP award and all the, notes that I had for him in the game. And then when the moment he said, "And Kayla, one more thing," I'm like, what's one more thing? I had no clue. And then I just was like, it's hard to hear sometimes. And I hear him say, like, "Your dad, Steve." And once he said, "Your dad, Steve," I was like, oh no. I was like, oh God.
You probably covered Gronk and knows everything about Gronk for years and years and years.
Yeah, he's been covering him for a long time, and Gronk has been so good to my dad and our family. I just didn't anticipate him like kind of calling that out, and then finally he kept going on and on. And I was like, all right, guys, back up to you. Like, this is not a Burton show. This is the LA Bowl show. So anyway, he's just awesome though. I appreciated him. Obviously, he didn't have to do that, and that's who he is. He's just thoughtful like that, like not the game and anything has nothing to do with me. So for him to do that, but he's thoughtful like that with everyone else around him. It just speaks to his character. But I definitely was like red in the face. I was like, not you talking about my dad right now.
No, you Kayla'd it up. You Kayla'd it up. You played it cool.
I Kayla'd it out. I didn't know what to do. Take it away.
Yeah.
Mike's cut.
No, that was awesome. No,
I got a lot of texts that day.
Yeah, I bet. I remember my family was watching that, because obviously when you're on, it's like, everybody stop what they're doing. Kayla's on TV.
I love you guys.
And we're all like, oh my goodness, like what is gonna happen here? But it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you, AB. Appreciate your family watching.
No, it was every time there's a place right across the street from BC City Side, you probably know it. And we'll go there to watch a lot of college football. And so when you were on this swap, like, I know her.
It's funny because when you're on TV, at least for me, I forget that you're on TV. Like, it's just your job. You're just looking at a camera. You get it. Like, when you're doing interviews, it's just you and coach. Like, you're not really, like subconsciously you're thinking about you being on TV, but not really. And then when you see like text or whatever, I'm like, oh God, like, it really hits you, but then you get used to it.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah.
I'm going to be saying that about you. I already am saying that about you.
Oh, I don't know. I got a season. I got some classes I got to make sure. It's funny, senior year, you have fewer classes. They're probably only one day a week. I forget that I go to school sometimes because I'm just all across. So we were flying back from where we were, Pittsburgh, this weekend. And I'm just checking my email, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I go to school, like I have homework.
I know, especially senior year.
Yeah, so I hopefully I will make it there one day, but I still got to pass some classes and get through practices.
I'm not worried about that with you.
Watch some film, but Kayla, this was so amazing to talk to you, especially on this Sports Spectrum platform for my first podcast ever. And you are beautiful inside and out, and it clearly shows even when I'm not talking to you through my computer. Just watching you on college football has been so cool for me to see, you as one of my high school basketball coaches, and the light that you poured into me. No, seriously, at that time. And then now, just like, you're right, what you said before we jumped on here, like how full circle this is. So just so cool for me, and so thankful for you and your family.
I'm so appreciative of you. Thank you for having me on this. Like, what a cool, like you said, full circle moment. And AB, I will say, last thing I'll add here, you're doing way more than I did my senior year. And I know that there are more resources, there's more social media outlets and platforms that you can use. But the fact that you are grinding day in and day out and getting a guy like Bill O'Brien to sit down and talk with you, and, because he's not just any coach, he's the OC of the Patriots coming over here to BC, and a big time guy, well-known name. And the work that you're doing is going to take you far. So believe in that, trust that. And honestly, I am inspired by you doing it. I don't care how much older or where I go in this career, like what you are doing, keep doing, because it's working, and people are interested. I'm interested. I was looking at your videos and it's just awesome. So you may think I inspire you, but girl, I can say the same about you.
Oh,
So thank
well,
you.
that's so nice of you. I'll be Kayla and AB and Kayla it up. So I
There we
appreciate
go.
that. You're the best.
ABKB, baby.
ABKB. I like it.
Hey,
That's
we can start
good.
from there.
Yeah, hey. Hey, I'll just hold like your lip gloss on the sideline. Be like,
Oh,
okay,
will you
Kayla,
stop?
that's
Absolutely not.
it.
Absolutely not.
No, that's awesome. That's so good. Well, Kayla, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, AB.
And many thanks to Kayla Burton from ESPN and Annabelle Hasselbeck, who did a fantastic job, I think. Being a college senior at Boston College, wants to do this broadcast media thing for a living, but loves the Lord. And I love that she was willing to take a chance, right? And to try and do a podcast. And I thought she did a wonderful job. So great job, Annabelle. She recorded this. She booked her own guest. It was a really cool thing and something I'd like to do more of in the future. So we appreciate Annabelle and we appreciate Kayla Burton for our Sports Spectrum conversation today. You can find us at our website, sportspectrum.com. All of our content is there. We got articles, devotionals, all of our podcasts, including this one with Kayla Burton, is available at the website, sportspectrum.com. And we are really excited later on this year, in a couple months, hopefully, we're going to have a Sports Spectrum app as well. Finally, an app which will have everything Sports Spectrum related right in there, including this podcast. So we're excited of what God's doing here in 2024, and we're just grateful that you are along for the ride. We appreciate your support. Of course, whatever app you're listening to this podcast on, make sure you click that subscribe button, that follow button, so that you don't miss any more episodes and conversations like today's with Kayla Burton. And we appreciate you. We love you guys, and we hope you'll join us next time for another conversation here on the show. Have a great rest of your day.